Hey bro, what's up? Hope you're doing good. So there's a fresh patch out for the game, and I want to walk you through everything it changes and why it actually matters for how you'll play, grind, and tweak your squad from here on out. Version 1.1.2.4 rolled out on November 18th and hit multiple platforms as part of the staggered rollout. So some of the bits might already be in your game depending on what system you're on. First off, the devs added a couple of really nice convenience features that make fiddling with characters and gear less of a hassle. You can now swap characters directly from the Ab I Learn board and from the equipment menu, which means when you're trying to test new skill trees or see how a build performs, you don't have to navigate through half a dozen menus just to change a single slot. That sounds small, but it shaves minutes off iterative testing and makes experimenting actually feel fun instead of a chore. On the progression side, they adjusted how leveling works across the board. Experience requirements to level up have been modified, so your progression curves will feel different. Some levels might take a touch longer or shorter depending on how the math lines up with your current team. More importantly, they added a targeted safety net for the underleveled. Up to 5 lower-level characters in your 16-member team doc now receive a post-match experience bonus that scales with how far behind they are compared to the team average. Now, that's a deliberate nudge to encourage roster rotation instead of tunnel leveling a tiny core, and it changes the math on how you should plan your training sessions and who you bench for development. There's also a story mode balancing change that will stop players from steamrolling content with an overpowered avatar. Any avatar that's level 51 or above will be adjusted down to level 50 for story mode matches, which means you can't just overpower the narrative fights by having a hyper-leveled protagonist carry every single matchup. It forces you to use more balanced lineups and actually gives the encounter designs a chance to breathe. This pairs with the tweak that if you lose and retry from mid-match, the score up to that point is now carried over. So retrying is less punishing and less repetitive when you're chasing a specific outcome. Those two together make story mode a bit kinder on replaying while still keeping the intended challenge intact. The ranked and online systems got a hardline update aimed squarely at reducing idling and reward farming. The patch implements countermeasures so that if you lose, rewards are only granted when the match is played to completion. Experience gained on defeat has been cut to 1/4, and conceding will no longer grant rewards. In short, quick abandons, disconnect farming, and casual concedes as a shortcut to rewards are being shut down. That's going to sting for some people who relied on sketchy loops to boost their roster, but it should lift the overall quality of online matches and make ranking progression more meaningful. There's also a pretty comprehensive set of bug fixes in this build, some of which patch progression blocking issues that could break story mode in rare scenarios. They patched the spirit exchange, so spent spirits actually decrement, fixed problems where ranked match points were awarded despite canceled connections, and resolved a handful of story-specific progression issues across several chapters. There are also fixes for visual glitches and edge case match behaviors that used to cause instability, the kind of housekeeping that quietly eliminates a lot of the why did that just happen moments mid-play. A couple of nuanced implications are worth pointing out if you care about efficient team growth and tournament play. Because the XP balance changed and the bench bonus specifically targets the 5 lowest level characters, the optimal development strategy shifts. Rather than investing everything into your top 11 right away, spreading XP across a handful of under-leveled bench members, each run becomes more resource efficient. And then you'll get more net progress across your whole roster if you rotate who gets playtime and make use of that post-match scaling bonus. Similarly, with the level sync clamp for avatars, using a single over-leveled avatar to trivialize story bosses is no longer a viable shortcut, so planning diversified teams and learning to use complementary skills and tactics regains importance. The online rule changes will also affect how you approach matchmaking. Abandoning or conceding to avoid a mismatch will now cost you, and losing early will mostly be a learning experience rather than a reward farm. That's the design intent, to make every ranked match carry actual competitive weight, but it changes the social dynamic in lobbies for a while as players adjust. And because the patch was released on different platforms on slightly different dates, be aware that cross-save or playing with friends on other platforms may expose version differences such as training goal thresholds. 2 players on different systems might see slightly different numbers because of that, so keep an eye on cross-save behavior if you swap between devices. Overall, this update is less about rocking the meta with massive damage numbers and more about tightening systems, discouraging exploitative behavior, smoothing out quality of life friction, and nudging players toward developing deeper rosters. The fixes in the patch also remove several annoying edge cases that used to break progression or give inconsistent results, so you should notice a steadier experience while playing. If you want the patch note specifics in text form, the official site has the full changelog with all the fine-grained bug fixes and platform details. But the big takeaways are the quality of life menu shortcuts, the XP rework and bench bonus, the avatar level cap in story mode, retry score carryover, and the anti-idling measures for online matches.